All right, we are live for a little bit of a morning check-in, and as always, looking forward to connecting and happy to be back on good old YouTube, man. Looks like I got a little time off in YouTube prison, but nevertheless, I'm back, and yeah, it's just interesting to see how the truth must be censored, but then again, it's hard to hide, especially when the numbers don't add up. And so, this revision, we got to talk about this. I saw couple commentators talk about it, and I wanted to share my 2 cents on it just because you remove all these fraudulent numbers that we have been questioning from the get-go, it would already signal a recession. Nevertheless, that, as I mentioned before, clearly for quite some time now, we've already had all the indicators that will lead to the recession narrative actually being here and now. But due to what I consider economic and perhaps election tampering or malfeasance or fraud or whatever you want to call it, when the same authorities in power have the ability to control the narrative with the fake numbers and the agendas that they are trying to ensue all at the same time to keep this thing propped up, it's hard to tell what's real from what's fake. But then again, we know what's really happening, man. All right, so let's dive in, man. As always, looking forward to connecting. Appreciate you for blessing me with your time, your energy, and your presence. Hope everyone is doing well this morning. And yeah, as always, man, it's going to be a lot of distractions, diversion tactics, the game. And the biggest thing is trying to, weave through some of the narratives and figure out truth in this current, environment we're in. And also figure out how to operate and to plan for the times ahead. And so I'm looking at this whole political narrative. It's just how it's unfortunate that, out of 300 plus million Americans and, 30, 40, 50 million, illegals, that we're forced to focus on the political propaganda between the DNC convention, the GOP, as if there's only two choices. Unfortunately, that's where we're at this current moment. And I threw out the other day, what if things don't work out the way that you want in reference to your political candidate not getting chosen, because there's going to be one winner? Then what comes next? And so as of right now, given the momentum, given the agenda, given the entire landscape that the world is facing, it just seems that everything has kind of been set up for the DNC, i.e. Kamala, to become the 47th president of the United States. And of course, I hope that isn't the case. But then again, whether it's Trump or whether it's Kamala, we're still heading in the same direction. It's just more so what pace. And so I actually preemptively put together or updated an infographic. And just real quick, let me share that infographic with you, and then we'll dive into some of the other nitty gritty. But I just want to put this out here just because this is the only place you're going to see this, because I'm the only one that created this. But here we have what could be the 2025 purchasing power consumer dollar graph. And what a interesting collection or collaboration of individuals that are all been the front puppets or front faces for our nation all along. Look at that diminishing of purchasing power from good old Woodrow Wilson all the way down to whoever the 47th might be. And so as of now, I'll just keep Kamala on here just in case I'm wrong. But then again, what are your thoughts on this graphic? Does it surprise you? What do you think when you see this as far as looking ahead to our future for this country? Those are some things that I think will be worth touching on. So anyway, as always, man, we're going to have some fun this morning. I want to just connect real quick, share my thoughts with you, and just walk through the narrative and just basically highlight how, it's becoming even harder to hide the lies. And so just the whole narrative of a soft landing, it's mathematically impossible. And I'm going to share my thoughts on that. And of course, curious to hear what you guys thinking. So feel free in the chat for those who are plugged in, man. If you haven't, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Hopefully more people are notified so they can join us and get an alternative perspective on what's real and what's not. And as always, let me see who we got in the chat here. I see a couple people checking in with us. 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪. We got 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 checking in. How you doing? Yeah, our time is out. Yeah, it was inevitable. And so from when I first time I connected with Jeff Berwick back in 2019, I immediately got got demonetized and all that stuff like that. And so I'm like, oh, so literally, I follow his work because I like his perspective. I pay attention to any and everybody just because everybody has a unique perspective they bring to the table. He's more blunt and upfront with his, and he don't hold no punches. And of course, he loved getting to the core root of the evil. In a sense, he didn't go take it to the spiritual level, but he took it to he used the 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗟𝗓𝗪 Jews. That's what everybody loved to use as the synagogue of Satan representatives that's operating out of the nation of Israel. So we all kind of, for the most part, know that. But there, as I mentioned, there's two types of, Jews entities that exist right now, and we're witnessing the ones that's causing the most trouble, put it like that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so yeah, it's going to be problems, but it's to be expected. Mark, how you doing, man? Appreciate you for checking in as always. Okay, so I don't want to be long before you guys. Just want to share with you some things that caught my attention, put a narrative on it, and try to help it make sense for those who question everything. So the biggest thing is, based upon the information you have, once you process it all, what's the outcome or what's the output that you receive in reference to the agenda? That's what the whole objective is here. So anyway, man, hope everyone is doing well. And let's just jump right into it. And so for those who are part of the community, I want to make sure that you realize all the sources that are available to you. And so let's jump right into it, man. For those who are paying attention, I want to give you an opportunity to connect with my partners over at colonialmetals.com/RTD. They are the ones that are the experts in this financial realm with helping people diversify and take possession of their retirement portfolios. Because once these charades of numbers come to an end, you better believe there's going to be a day of reckoning. And that day of reckoning will be reflected in the bond market as well as the stock market. And so hopefully you have some strategies in place to protect, preserve, and to prosper in the days ahead. And one of them would be in a self-directed IRA. So for those who are interested, I encourage you, fill out this form here. You'll be contacted by the team there and just ask questions, get all your things that you need to know about this particular pathway out into the air so that you can see if it's something good for you or not, and then move forward. But as always, I encourage people, get your physical first, and then anything else that's above what you're comfortable with carrying, then you look at allocating them and putting them in the vehicle such as this that can help you store and protect your wealth for your future. Because once again, no one's coming to save you at the end of the day. There's no president, there's no Congress, there's no politician that can put more purchasing power back into your pocket. That's for sure. So it's up to you, people. So hopefully you take advice and do what you got to do. Connect with our people here, and you won't be disappointed, rather. All right. So let's jump into it, man. Those figures look very concerning, very concerning. So let's just jump into that, man. Let me get you some thoughts here. So share with you some things that caught my attention, and feel free to throw out in the chat whatever thoughts, ideas, suggestions you have, and we go from there. But real quick, the headline that came out yesterday, wanted to just share my 2 cents on it before it gets swept under the news and we on to the next subject matter. But this is very concerning because, there's always revisions. Revisions happens all the time, but we've never had a revision of this magnitude at this current point in time where where it can matter so much. And what I mean by matter so much, we're in an election year. And so had these figures not been manipulated over the last year plus, we would be in a much different environment. The narrative would be much different. And this political, tit for tat of, Trump's up, in this state and he's out in this state. So it'd be a clear difference in where the nation would want to head in reference to a political choice, just because we're experiencing the unraveling of the system under the current administration. And so to have close to 1 million jobs that were never there, like those 818,000 jobs that were never there, that's the equivalent of padding the stats. That's the equivalent of padding the books. That's like something that in any other realm of life, if you get caught doing something like this, there will be a heavy price to pay. There will be a lot of scrutiny. There'll be a lot of backlash. People will be absurd, I'll be just going crazy if these type of numbers took place in the public sector or in the private sector, rather. And so it says U.S. jobs revised down by 818,000 in election year. Shocker. Second worst revision in U.S. history. Second worst revision. So you got to ask yourself, when was the first revision of this magnitude? Oh, it happened during the same time as one of the largest, biggest economic, monetary events that this nation's faced in the last, 20 plus years. And it happened to be around the GFC crisis timeframe. And so with all that adding up, it's like, okay, if they lied during and around the GFC to try to make things appear better than they were, and they're lying now, and this is the second worst time in U.S. history, What are they covering up? What are they hiding? What are they trying to prevent from being known to the public? And we all know what that is. It's this current unraveling of this current restructuring that we're in and the rebooting of the system and whatever comes after that. Because what we will experience in the days ahead, however it plays out, I'm hoping I wouldn't mind it being drawn out even longer, just because the longer it's drawn out, me and other people to reach the masses, to get them to think and to wake up and to realize what's really going on. But also, the manipulation of the metal space is still underway for silver, not necessarily gold. I would say, gold is nowhere near where it will be in the end, but it's beyond the realm of what we would consider a suppressed price, because it's at an all-time high, or just flirting with that area and creating new all-time highs, at least, once a month, every couple of weeks. It can only go up from here, outside of a temporary correction, as I always mention. But we all know where the world is racing to. But silver is still the most undervalued, underappreciated, and underutilized monetary medium that is known to man. And so long as this is drawn out with this narrative and agendas and propaganda, it only allows more people to be able to acquire or to redeem fiat before they cut the spigot back on. And I'm going to continue to mention that just because that's what this is all about. It's all a monetary, a monetary experiment is unraveling in real time. But back to these numbers here, man. Let me get this on the screen here. And so just seeing and hearing some of these graphs here, Philadelphia Fed admits U.S. payroll overstated. Like just the word overstated. Like, how can it get to the point where it can be overstated? And then you look at the figures here. Let's just zoom in here to these figures. Oops, wrong one. Let me just zoom in here to these figures. And so on the screen here, as you can see, in December of 2023, and of course, I remember, even when me and Mario was talking about just the job numbers and how things were, and at that time, the narrative was the economy is doing well. Biden and VP Harris, who was nowhere near, in the mainstream light as far as being vocal, because they didn't have her as a public figure at that time. It was all about Biden, and just the number and the energy was that the economy is in great condition. It's recovering. It's getting better, and sure, it's getting better when you're padding the stats and you're making that green arrow to over my shoulder here look like we're only getting better. There's more hiring. There's more of this. The economy's solid, until you get the red line where the actuality of what's going back to that same time frame in December is nowhere near that. And once again, there's no real pushback. There's no complaining. There's no nothing. It's still focused on Jackson Hole meeting, where Fed is, Jerome Powell is going to speak today and paint more of a narrative of what he predicts and what he thinks, as if that really matters. So it's becoming harder and harder, as I mentioned, to keep this lie held on together. Okay, but it doesn't stop there, because outside of these figures and the revisions, when you look at all the other, I got more indicators here. Let me just drop this one on you here. So here is that graph that I was referring to that just highlights this historical nature that we're in. And so as you can see on the screen here, annual benchmark revision to non-farm payrolls. And of course, as I mentioned, this is the second worst revision, and the other one was 2009. And once all that unraveled, we know how 2009 unfolded and all the things that took place. The introduction of quantitative easing, which has kept the system propped up for the last, 15 years or so. And so the question is, what's next? QE accomplishes their goals, but it hurts us directly, because it's policies like that is the reason why, inflation, and Kamala Harris talking about it, fixing inflation. And eventually she's going to appoint, if she's in office, she's going to appoint a grocery czar. And guess it's probably going to be Tim Walz, of course. But once again, it's just more. I'm lost for words on how to really describe this. If I was to just use one word to describe all this that I'm trying to highlight right now, let me know in the chat, what you guys think as far as a word that would encompass all this political and economic, man, Sleight of hands, trickery. I mean, you let me know. And so Realmatic says, how do they get the figure wrong? They got the figure wrong because you have statisticians that's supposed to go out into the real world and gather all this data. Clearly, the data they grabbed was not suitable for the narrative that they wanted to have. And so they just decided to add a couple zeros. It's just that simple. You just add a couple zeros and then you pin a hairline. The jobs are surpassed expectations. And you know, they use the word expectations, or job is below expectations based upon the forecast. This is all about forecasting. They forecasted a lie. That's what it is. They forecasted a lie. Bobby Seal says chaos in the world. Low blood pressure says retarded. BS. The economy is a joke. 100%, man. I think we are buying food and gas. Yeah. Okay. So let me keep moving. But I'm not going to harp much on this because, you know the truth. You know what's going on. It's just, what troubles me is that 99.99% of the population have no interest, no clue, and they don't know. And they're in the line of danger as a result of them believing these lies, believing this economic forecasting lies data, instead of being able to pay attention and think outside the box and realize that, they are the reason why the system is being held together, because they have to keep up these lies by making sure that people feel comfortable, that the consumer is still spending. But that is not something they can keep doing for long, because you can only prop up the lie for so long before something breaks. And that's what is coming next, unfortunately. And so here is today's headline. U.S. job claims rise in the latest week. And so once again, they've lost the ability to manipulate the numbers, because you look at the headlines. Everybody that's a publicly traded company in the service sector is laying off, from GM to Walmart to name your favorite company out here. They're having to rethink some things if they want to remain in business. And so just these figures here, let me give it to you real quick. So this is, as of today's data, the number of Americans filing new applications for unemployment. New applications for unemployment benefits rose in the latest week, but the level still suggested a gradual cooling of the labor market remains intact. So a part of monetary policy is the labor market. And of course, if Jerome Powell, if his strategy is that more unemployment equates to less spending, therefore less price pressure, isn't that in of itself like a backwards model for price stability and economic employment and things of that nature? But it says here, unemployment rose 4,000 to a seasonally adjusted 232 for the week of August 17th. And of course, we might get a revision of some real numbers down the line where it's probably 300, 400,000. So once again, they're still putting out those figures, but it is what it is. And so here we have something here. Soft landing scenario is less convincing. U.S. manufacturing PMI plunges to an 8-month low. And so controlling the narrative for as long as they can until they can't no more. So yeah, all the graphs here show you that things are not as hunky-dory as they want us to believe. Just look at the divergence here. Blue line, U.S. PMI business activity is handing up. And then green line, U.S. manufacturing PMI is down. So literally the service sector is holding things up, whereas in the manufacturing and production of real world goods and services is trending down. I'm not quite sure how that equates, how that adds up, but that's the data we're being given. All right, so those are some things there that caught my attention, man. Curious to hear what you guys think about these matters. How much will or will it not hinder the government's ability for the next 80 plus days before this government selection? Will they be able to keep this thing intact as far as controlling the narrative? Because overall, I was looking at a survey, employment confidence figures are reaching relatively crucial numbers because people are feeling more concerned about their employment status given all the mainstream news that's coming out about changes that's being made. So that definitely doesn't help because what that does, if you're uneasy or uncertain based upon rumors within the work environment you're at, you're more than likely going to cut back on spending. You won't feel as comfortable to go splurge as you would in a healthy environment. And so it's going to be a domino effect where people will spend less. And I remember having, I think it was David Haggith on the show a couple of weeks ago, and him mentioning that, expect the official recession narrative to kick in come holiday season, i.e. Christmas, when people really look to readjust and rethink the amount of currency they spend or even charge on a credit card. So just something that people will definitely be paying attention to. So, and MCA says, get your weight up 100%. I was thinking about this the other day. Just looking at the landscape, looking at the environment, in reference to my own personal operations and, family and things of the nature. It's been a while on my end to where I've already, trimmed out a lot of fat, cut down on a lot of things unnecessary, really trying to reprioritize and reassess, my values in this current environment, and trying to think long term, like, not necessarily sacrificing pleasures and enjoyment for everything, but just realizing that over the last couple of years, I've become conditioned to thinking that because I can buy something at any time, whenever I want, whether it be a knick-knack item or a major item, do I really need that? And of course, for me, I don't need that. But then again, I know that if tough times are coming for everybody, it might be worthwhile to lay up some nuts and berries, in a stash, just for the sake of being able to weather the storm a little longer. So right now, my mindset is, how can I weather unfavorable economic conditions outside of, the typical, 3 to 6 month time frame that a lot of people say we could expect between, the rebooting of the system and the reintroduction of different solutions and strategies. So literally, if we look at what we're experiencing now, and I try to look at it, from a biblical standpoint, if they say, for example, if this is some type of long drawn out process, and I think, just biblically speaking, a 7-year famine type of situation. Is anybody here prepared for a 7-year restructuring of the monetary system? It's not likely. And so that's kind of where my mind is going these days. What can I do to position myself to be able to withstand a little bit longer? Then you factor in, a lot of this for me is just, my faith at work, in day-to-day actions, as far as what am I believing God for in the midst of all this uncertainty, because he knows what's going on. He knows what's best for me. And so how can I, operate in faith and not fear, but then again, looking for opportunities, really thrive. And so those are things that I'm trying to figure out how and what that looks like, for myself. And of course, giving ideas to you guys as well. So these are just some things that caught my attention. Tom says, who can you believe? Yeah. Who? Yeah. Yeah. The WHO wants us to believe that, the current health situation, there was abbreviated from monkeypox down to mpox. I wonder what the business strategy and the marketing team was thinking about, and implement that. So we'll see. But once again, keeping it moving. So here's just a couple other things that caught my attention on the global monetary front. Here we have something that just once again provides the world with alternatives outside of the USD solely. Tether, which is a software company utilizing blockchain to create tokens that are attached to fiat currencies. And of course, so far, we know that USD has been working very favorably with Tether and our government agencies to use them for the prolonging of the dollar. But it looks like the UAE is also partnering to create a dirham stablecoin, which will provide them a liquidity source to be able to get their currency out into the system as well, so that people aren't solely dependent upon the USD. And so utilizing fiat currencies still is a part of the game, but in a rebranded form. And so the stablecoin pegged UAE dirham Quoting a press release with Cointelegraph newspaper will launch in a collaboration with the UAE Phoenix Group and Green Acorn Investments, adhering to the Tether's transparent, robust reserve standard that ensures that the Dirham peg token is tied to a value of their currency. So why would you want to peg your currency unless you wanted it to be more readily accessible to other people outside your currency, as well as perhaps a backup medium in case you need to get out some form of liquidity to the people directly and you want to update and modernize your current digital currency platform. So we'll see where this all goes. But once again, the world is evolving and moving on. And then I had to share something real. I'm not going. Yeah. Anyway, I got some other things here, but I won't bore you with that. But anyway, these are some things that caught my attention, man. I had to share my 2 cents on the whole 1,800, 18,000. In any other sector, that will be an outcry. There'll be backlash. There'll be an investigation. There'll be a Senate hearing or something like that if people were defrauded. But then again, you can defraud the American people with these fictitious numbers, and it's all good because it's the government, and they will do anything in their best interest to protect you and your, in your best interest, right? While destroying our currency. So anyway, this is what's happening in the news, man. Aces of Silver says silver's on sale. Let me check out some metals activity real quick and see what's happening. So let me see here. Silver is on sale as always. It looks like everything is experiencing a little price pressure downward. So we got gold right now, $2,476.30. We got silver at $28.95, palladium $94,942, and palladium $912, platinum at $942. And once again, trying to keep this under wraps is the goal, because if it breaks out, there's no going back. There's no turning back. All right, good people. That's all she wrote for this morning. Just wanted to see what's going on and go from there. But Wokeism says, my God, the clickbait conspiracy theory insanity. JB, what we talking about here? What clickbait insanity? Why not just to make money instead of during the wokeism? Conspiracy theory? Your government lying to you about numbers to keep the economy propped up is a conspiracy theory? Oh, really? Assuming you're talking about that, I don't know, but just to each his own. But just very concerning, man. This reveals that economic and election tampering is real. But we knew that already. But all right, my good people, be blessed, be safe, and if you enjoyed this, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Definitely put this out there so more people can realize that they're the butt of the joke. And when the joke is longer funny, they're going to be the ones that experience a lot of the pain and discomfort in this new world we're going to live in. But all right, my good people, be blessed, be safe. Shalom.